doing something. Let me just check this is live. Okay, I'll just check, just in case anyone is listening. We're using some new software, so we just want to check everything's working. I'm going to just check if we are actually live by asking anyone in the chat to confirm if we're live. I'm just going to ask my friend who's listening. Probably not many people going to be on here on the live version anyway, which is just as well, I think. I'm going to ask my friend Neil, who should be listening. He should be able to tell me whether he can hear me. I'm just going to send a few messages as well to other people. Or if there is anyone in the chat, maybe you could let us know if you can hear us yet before we start getting going. While we're waiting, while I'm doing my checks, Seth, how are you, by the way?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm just learning a bit about StreamYard here, and it looks pretty darn cool, man. So far, it seems a lot more user-friendly than YouTube or Skype or anything we've been using before. So I'm liking it so far.
Well, so am I, but it all depends on whether it's actually working, Seth. Let's make sure Indeed. It's working first before we compliment it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna open YouTube just to see if I can. Oh, okay. It's been confirmed by a listener that it is working. That's good. Okay, right good. Oh, and welcome to those people in the chats as well. Thank you for joining us. There might not be many people today because we didn't really advertise it very well.
Yeah, okay, I just put it out on my Facebook. Yeah. So yeah,
we've got a few people in the chat. Welcome everyone. It's good to see you. It's been a long time. Stream smooth. I just wanted to ask everyone: are we both coming through roughly the same volume? Can you hear us? Okay. Seth, say something.
Something.
Very original. Well, they said stream smooth.
Right on.
Let me check with my audio analyst. Neil, I can hear you. Yeah, okay, thanks, Neil. How well can you hear us, Neil? I'm going to have to shut Neil down in a minute because I don't want to keep too many things open in case it affects the bandwidth.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, wait a minute. I can still see your mute button's got a kind of stroke. Let me just check everyone can hear you. Can everyone hear Steph? Because if I look at your
that's because I was muting myself for a moment there. Because it's just good habit to be in from streaming over like Skype and stuff like that. Just because like I noticed that if I don't stay on the mute button, then the audio can get a little bit muddy and stuff.
Right. Well, we can start singing StreamYard's praises because it does appear to be working better than the previous thing, which was an absolute pain in the ass. So we can, thank you, everyone. Good. Well, it's good to see everyone who's in the chat room. Good to see you again, Seth. It has been a while, and I know we haven't been doing so many episodes over the last kind of year or two, really. I kind of got a bit despondent, I'm going to confess. I kind of... I felt like I was putting a lot of work into it, but weren't getting many viewers. But I think that could change, especially now where the whole world realizes we are stuck in the middle of a conspiracy year. So I'm hoping we'll pick up more listeners. But maybe it's quality, not quantity. We've got we've got the best listeners, I think.
Indeed. Well, and I've noticed that it's something that it is really easy to get kind of morose and cynical and stuff, especially covering the sort of topics that we cover a lot. So that's why some people act like either being in some sort of blind paradigm of just ignoring everything going on around you and whatnot is somehow the full ignorance is bliss mentality type thing. Doesn't really work for me personally. And so I feel you, Scott. There are times when it's, oh, buddy, it's real easy to get depressed over stuff and to feel like you're not going anywhere, especially with how heavily all these different tech platforms will censor you and censor, especially when it comes to after our first few broadcasts. And I noticed this just even with my music, with Too Real News, with anything like that, is at first when we first started doing everything, we blew up, man. We were reaching all sorts of people all over the world. And then YouTube, Google, all these different platforms start gradually shutting everything down, rolling it all back, and having their algorithms set up to have preference for the most absolutely banal crap or banal shit that you have ever seen in your entire life. And yet that's what they'll do, man. It's what they'll do, and people will eat it up, wondering why they need more Baby Shark, more cat videos, more TikTok streamers and shit like that, and less real news and everything. It's why I definitely encourage people to get on other platforms like BitChute, like Library, like oh my god, dang it! There's another one that I'm on, a Parler or Parlay or whatever it's supposed to be.
I've heard that one. I've heard that one a lot recently. I haven't checked it out. BitChute seems to be catching on, and I think people are gonna. I think people are gonna move en masse to BitChute and some others because people are fed up of this kind of everything that's happening, especially this year, and even more so. It's become obvious in the last few months. The censorship is crazy, especially over the election. And things that's happening with that as well. Let's get straight into it because it kind of ties in. The Hunter Biden laptop is the hot news at the moment, and I don't think anything's really made anything so much clearer than that kind of topic, where it's just been people. Was it the New York Post that got their Twitter account shut down over this?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, yes, that's pretty huge, isn't it? It's like they don't want
Facebook and Twitter are shutting down anybody that talks about it, delisting their postings, or just flat out shadow banning people, or just banning them outright. And it's really, really transparent. I mean, Scott, anybody that's listened to us for long enough knows that the first broadcast I believe that I did with you was with Corey Washington, and we actually talked about Ukraine and Burisma and all this sort of stuff. Even then. Yeah. And so having all these NPC morons out there, literal walking automatons, try to tell me it's fake news paid for by the Russians is really, really getting old, because this is the sort of stuff that it's old news. It's mainstream news. It's literally old news. And these people are talking about how it's completely made up just for the election. And yet we've known this. Scott, you and I, and I'm sure most of the listeners, have seen Photoshopped images before. You know what Photoshop looks like for the most part, I would assume. The Hunter Biden crack pipe images and all this stuff, that ain't Photoshop, man.
That's real.
That ain't Photoshop.
There's been too many checks over this story as well. There's people corroborating, having received the emails that are sent from the laptop. It's true. I mean, you can question whether there's been any kind of manipulation going on with when it's released, and obviously releasing it at this time, but you can't question you can question anything, of course. I mean, that's what our show's about, but it's been confirmed that laptop is real, rightly or wrongly, wherever it came from. The backstory might not be 100% true, who knows, but it's true, the information. And have you been looking at any of the emails and the photos and the videos?
Yeah, it's pretty disturbing stuff. I hadn't seen anything of the suggested pedo stuff yet, but also after the Pizzagate stuff and all sorts of stuff like that, and human trafficking, and because I at one point had to do but I did out of just giving a shit, right? 36 paragraph, like this really in-depth article on human trafficking and all this stuff, and I'm not eager to see any more evidence of rich, powerful people doing horrible shit with kids, man. Like just the Epstein stuff kind of cured me on that for a minute. And I'm not a big fan of it either, although I will check it out. To confirm or to make sure.
Just to confirm it's real. Yeah. I think at least some people have to do that just to confirm it's real. By the way, if anyone wants to check out what's being released, because Rudy Giuliani and I think some other people, I think there'd probably be more trouble with the FBI if they released it online. So it kind of had to be done from China by the looks of it. So gnews.org is releasing a lot of information, and they've just this moment released another one, actually. Okay, it's just about drugs. So I don't think there's any question that he's a drug addict. And
and I think that what we're talking about as far as the Chinese connection here is real interesting, considering that we've been told this entire time, whether or not you believe it's up to you, but Trump, he's in bed with the Russians. It's the Russians, man. Russian meddling. Russians, right? All 4 years of his presidency, it's just Russians, man. Joe Biden, the Chinese Communist Party, literally has their hand so far up his butt they could make his mouth move with their fingers, and yet the media is just crickets on this. Real interesting, considering part of the reason one of the former business partners of Hunter and Joe Biden and all these guys, Jim Biden, his brother, are one of these guys came out and completely and totally corroborated the story, is like turned state's evidence against them, essentially. All because they thought they could screw this individual over as well as their other partners as well. And I know, of course, the right-wing media is going to try and make it seem like, no, man, this guy he wanted to help America and all this stuff. And no, it's because Hunter and Joe Biden and these guys are that arrogant that they thought they could screw over their business partners for millions of dollars behind their back, getting funds from the Chinese government that the rest of them were not told about. And then that it would just be all right. And it would just poof, go away. Well, guess what? It didn't just go away because they pissed off the wrong people. And now everyone knows, cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, and Hot Retarded Chicks, sorry to call you that, but that is your username. They've mentioned that they saw the foot job with the crack pipe. I've seen that one as well. And at first I thought, okay, well, this is just porn, basically. But I didn't realize, apparently, that's one of his relatives. Did you hear about that?
Oh, no,
yeah.
I hadn't.
Yeah, that's the same. When I saw it, I thought, okay, this is not good. But then
people do some weird shit. So, like, yeah.
Allegedly, no lawsuits, please. That was Natalie Biden in that. Yeah.
Wow.
I
Suddenly, that would make way more sense as far as how Joe Biden holds himself around other people's kids.
Yeah.
Suddenly that would.
The other thing that's been released is they released a photo of Joe Biden sniffing the famous video where he's sniffing that girl's hair and he says something suggestive to her. Some people said that he said, "Oh, I get really horny when I'm with blah blah blah," but I turned the volume up and I couldn't quite hear it, so that can't be confirmed. But anyway, apparently that girl is in one of the photos or the videos. Oh. So there's definitely some creepy stuff going on. Family members and stuff like that, allegedly. Yeah, that's his underage niece, apparently. So, and there was another one released recently, which is they've shown her in a school uniform, so she's obviously a school uniform age.
Well, Scott, I do have a line in one of my songs recently talking about how it's two rich old pedophiles fighting for the presidency. And I mean, between Donald Trump talking about how if she wasn't his daughter, he would bang his daughter. And then Joe Biden with all of this and talking about how when he's with the among all those like little black kids and stuff, talking about, I love when little black kids come and rub my legs in the summertime and whatever. I'm like, what?
Biden's as creepy as anything. And
like Herbert the pervert, like the Family Guy character level caricature of a chimo. And yet people are just like, what? You don't like Uncle Joe? He seems like such a nice guy. Like,
this is the problem. I wanted to talk about that actually. The people watch 5-second snippets of their favorite politicians saying stuff, and they just believe it instantly.
Oh yeah, and the Trumpers are on the same tip. Trumpers are on the total same tip.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do that. They just, where there was Hillary Clinton, she said, "I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that," and then you've got people like looking at her and all go, "Oh, she's amazing." It's like, really? That's the evidence you're going to base your voting preference on? Just like a quick snippet, and you think you know this person, and I really do hope that Joe Biden in particular, it's one thing for Hunter Biden to get exposed, and of course that means that Joe Biden in turn could be compromised, and he's obviously making a lot of money. If you look at the emails, he basically seems to be giving a huge percentage to his father from the money he's taken from the Chinese. But
and also from Burisma, which is in bed with the Ukrainian government at the time. And
look, that Burisma thing, that was always highly suspicious. And
the fact that the United States government is meddling in Ukraine while the vice president is actively, his son is on the board of Burisma, the third largest oil and natural gas holding company, right? And so come on, man. To quote Joe Biden, man. Come on, man. Like
that was just exactly like Joe Biden. Yeah. Yep. And I remember I used to live in Ukraine, and we were talking about the situation then. And I remember Hunter Biden coming to Ukraine. I remember seeing it in the news and thinking, I thought at the time, we might have even mentioned it, I don't know, but I thought at the time, this is dodgy as anything. I knew it was dodgy. It's been dodgy from day one. And I've had arguments with BBC journalists on Twitter saying, why don't you investigate? It's obvious. And he's like, there's no evidence. Like, there's a video of him actually, of Joe Biden actually confessing, saying about that, about the investigation on Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
Basically saying he told him he was going to not give him the money for the aid.
The thing about the mayor of Moscow or some shit? What is it? Joe Biden got money, I believe, is something from like a deal with the mayor of Moscow's wife.
I heard about that. Yeah, I don't know enough about that one, but it's obvious that they're riddled with corruption. They really are, and they should be investigated. And the media were like, "Oh no, we don't. There's no evidence here." The media have been exposed. They've always been
complicit. They've always been complicit. That's why they call it the fourth branch of government.
But
you know what I mean?
There's nothing that's kind of riled me so much as this story, where it's obvious that the BBC, CNN, all the big media companies are actively covering up what is child abuse here.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, well, BBC do that all the time, and it's disgusting. Yeah, I mean, they're actively doing it. The BBC have said nothing about this so far.
Didn't they just put out like a really positive documentary about Jimmy Savile or some bullshit where they just tried to
They just made one recently, and I haven't seen it, but yeah.
Yeah, I heard they tried to gloss over all the pedo shit, and that they're just like, oh, no, what, he's just such a good guy. He did so much for the community.
The media have glossed over it anyway, because apparently the stories are far darker than they've ever gone into. And that's the other thing that annoys me about these situations. I understand that people don't want to listen or see videos of child abuse. Nobody does. But you kind of have to talk about it a bit or show snippets a little bit of it to get the full horror of it. Because if you just pretend that Jimmy Savile just touched people lightly on the leg and that's the end of the story. And apparently he was potentially killing kids. He was going into the morgue and having sex with dead kids and things like that. It's like, I think that should be exposed. And with Joe Biden, there used to be videos all over the place of him touching kids inappropriately. You could explain away one or two,
even touching adult women inappropriately on some shit that were he anybody else, and were the media a full right-wing media, like if all the media were Fox News, Joe Biden would have already been excoriated long ago, to the point his career would have been over. Not even just like him touching kids inappropriately or weirdly, but just random adult women that he goes and tries to like kiss them and touch like their boobs or grab by the hips or some shit. And it's just like, ugh. Even
that I felt like was diluting the story, because there was all the videos of him touching kids on the internet, and the media, I think they'd we've got to say something, but we don't want to mention the kids. So they just said, oh, there's been a woman who said he got too close to her. So they give a much diluted version of the story. Yeah. And if I'm a teacher, and if I did even one of the things he did to some of the kids on the video, I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, no shit.
And people seem quite happy to explain it all away, but some of them are inexplicable. And I'm hoping that they're going to reveal something about Joe Biden himself in this.
Yep. Well, never forget with Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and all the stuff. Don't promote fake news on our platform. You're like, Donald Trump gets peed upon by prostitutes. And you're like, yep, no, that's completely fine. And doesn't need to be validated, doesn't need to be vetted, doesn't need to be questioned. It's completely cool. You're like, okay. What about my story on the corruption of Joe Biden and all this stuff with actual evidence? And I was like, whoa, fake news. Shit out of here. Like,
I mean, another example of how literally they're covering up for Joe Biden was the Biden laptop story, and Sacha Baron Cohen. Rudy Giuliani was releasing the information about the laptop, and Sacha Baron Cohen and co. released the the video of Rudy Giuliani.
Really convenient timing.
Who was set? No, it was obviously done to try and deflect the story. And then the BBC picks up on that story. Still no Hunter Biden. Picks up, oh, Rudy Giuliani's been caught with, touching himself on the bed. And it's like they are actively 100% covering up this story, protecting real child abuse and covering a story about fake child abuse.
Well, from what I saw, the picture that I saw was literally him pulling out the microphone that they have because, your mic literally done up through your shirt, right? And it's like pinned to your little collar piece.
I've seen the whole thing. I'll tell you my take on it.
It's sketchy as hell. Yeah, it is sketchy as hell. I
saw the unedited version, and basically what I think's happened, it's a little bit embarrassing for Rudy Giuliani because it's a very attractive woman. She's not 15, even though Borat runs out in the room and goes, she's only 15. She's not. She's like 25 or something, or older.
She's almost my age.
But anyway, basically, she says to Rudy, let's go. She picks up the glass and let's go into the bedroom after that, while they're doing the interview. And he follows her, and he must be thinking, oh, maybe this is my lucky day. Yeah. And she's being all flirty, so she's trying to set him up. Yep. So it's not like he's totally innocent, but come on, she's a 25, a very attractive woman. He might be thinking, she's...
considering, Scott, the people that we've been talking about and what guys like Epstein got all their money from, it's interesting to see somebody like Borat do the exact same thing to political opposition in the exact same way. The only difference here is they have him in a somewhat shitty looking situation rather than having him on film with actual minors or some bullshit.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, she's not a minor. She's not a minor.
Well, and he also wasn't under the pretense of it to begin with either. That's the thing that everybody needs to realize is the difference is Borat comes in and then yells that shit after the fact and all this shit.
He's being set up, and he obviously likes, he does touch her on the shoulder, so he's obviously thinking, maybe I'm in here, but he doesn't do anything inappropriate. It's just a bit embarrassing for him.
Well, maybe. And also if she's coming on to him, then and she's an adult, then nothing within this has any bearing on anything other than what is he married or divorced?
I don't know, but it's embarrassing for him. That's all it is.
Yeah, if he's divorced or if he's not married, then it literally is a non-story that some horny old dude didn't get laid, and so we
and to cover a real child to take away from a real child abuse story. So Sacha Baron Cohen, I've lost all.
Oh yeah, he's a huckster. He's a total huckster shill, man. But then again, I knew that when he went to the fucking ADL and was talking about how we have to stop comedy and hate speech and all this terrible stuff. And it's like, you literally got all your money on mocking other ethnicities, nationalities, groups of people, roasting the shit out of them. But it's okay for you. Anyone else does this at all on any level ever, it's racist, it's anti-Semitic, it's homophobic, it's transphobe, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Like fill in the blank, right? And it's just, the utter hypocrisy there is what makes him so see-through, so completely and totally see-through. It doesn't take much to see through his bullshit. And what we got on notes here, Scott. Fuck me, we got a whole lot of insanity to cover here, way more than just the Joe Biden stuff. But yes, obviously Joe Biden is fucked. Did you see the political debates at all? Like, wow,
that presidential debate was... I did. I saw the last one, and Trump just seemed to, he, even though you can read afterwards, all the media are like, oh, Biden won. It's like, he was pathetic. What? He's boring. He's boring. When Trump turned around to him and said, and you took 10 million from China or something, you saw Biden, he just looked around. It's like, you can tell it's true. You can tell it's true. He wasn't like absolutely aghast. He was like looking up in the air. And,
and he didn't want to answer that question because when he literally asked him like, oh, so do you want to answer that question? He's like, no. He keeps pushing. And it's like, well, I wonder why. Also, the statement about the shutting down the oil industry and all this bullshit, and the fact that they've had to come out, both get his VP to come out and clarify his position, as well as all the media having to clarify his position later when he said that about shutting down the oil industry and, oh, we're going to transition to all this stuff. Trump said, and you can see it, man. Trump's like, that's a really big statement. And you hear the moderator in her voice because she's been trying to feed him stuff this entire time, right? Of just feed up Joe Biden. You could tell, man. And I've heard so many people go, oh, she's so impartial, but like, give me a fucking break. But she asked him, like, why would you do that? Why? And she's the way that she asks that, you know, it's nothing to do with why would you shut down the oil industry or whatever, so much as why the fuck would you say that publicly? Why would you? Because you just killed your whole fucking campaign with that. Just God, because how many people are involved in like? Because think about it, man. People act like, oh, the only people that affects is people in Pennsylvania or Texas or wherever, right? With oil, I mean, you realize. We all have cars that run on petroleum products, right? So, and people are like, oh, well, they'll just transition to electric cars and all this stuff. I'm like, and we're all just going to buy them? With what money? Do you think the government's going to just refund all of our money that we put into these fucking cars and petroleum guzzling machines and shit? Do you think it just goes away like that? No, you're going to have to buy it all. You're going to have to buy all this shit. No wonder people aren't going to vote for him. No wonder people think it's a joke. No wonder people are fleeing California en masse. I saw that shit where they're talking about the, what is it? No gas-powered anything by 2035 or no gas-powered cars and trucks by 2035 in the state of California. And it's just like, great. These are the sort of people that, look, left and right are a joke. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the left wing specifically here in the United States, can't speak for the rest of the world, but so far from what I've seen, the left wing and most of the rest of the world is on this same tip of the climate change insanity, where instead of going, okay, there's pollution as a problem, deforestation as a problem, people littering and stuff is a problem. Okay, totally with it. Great. We can do stuff about that. Instead, they're like, no. Cow farts and people breathing is going to cause the world to overheat, and then we're all going to flood out. And so thus pay me money with your carbon tax, and then that'll fucking solve shit. Or by the way, we'll get rid of oil and we'll get rid of natural gas. We'll get rid of coal. We'll get rid of all of this. We'll get rid of nuclear power. And then we'll replace it all with windmills and solar panels. Look, man, I'm somebody that's really a big fan of sustainable energy, but at the same time, come on.
Yeah,
are we going to be honest here? Because you and I have both covered the stories where birds are getting roasted alive by the goddamn solar panels. We've covered stories and shit where people can get cancer from the goddamn windmills because of electromagnetic frequency and stuff. Also, the fact that it costs more and creates more emissions to create the goddamn solar panels or windmills than it would be to just use gas or oil or anything. And then people act like that's just, propaganda. But in terms of actual output and capacity and whatnot, I think many states, be it actual United States like states or actual government like national government states in the rest of the world, really, if they have a bunch of these green efficiency measures and whatnot, we get to kind of see the effect of that. It destroys the economy. It destroys a lot of jobs, and it makes things a lot shittier. I mean, we literally have people that banned plastic straws that were wrapped in paper, and now instead have paper straws that are wrapped in plastic.
I think it's almost like a religion for some people. That's what it bothers me about it. Like, I have no problem with, the same as you, hate pollution. I drive around on a motorbike in Thailand here, and sometimes you get this big puff of black smoke coming out of people's exhausted, hitting me in the face. I'm totally for getting rid of pollution, and I don't even mind if they do get rid of petrol-driven cars and bring in electric ones. Doesn't bother me personally. That might be a bit selfish because I don't have a car, so but I can kind of see that it would be nicer to get rid of the pollution. Yeah, fine. The problem I've always had is don't force me to say that climate change is definitely happening, because I'm not a weather expert, and I don't believe even the weather experts are weather experts. So, yeah, fine. If you want to say it's happening, go ahead, but don't force me to say that it's true either. I don't know. And I think too many people do pretend that they know what is happening with the weather.
Considering that your National Weather Institute can't accurately predict all the time, or even really fully 100% predict accurately the weather tomorrow or next week.
Exactly.
There are so many times that they've been wrong, and that everyone in their general life knows to not just trust the weatherman with like full 100% carte blanche. Anything he says, just, well, the weatherman said it was supposed to be sunny today. So don't actually, just stick your fucking head out the window and go, hey, is it raining? Okay. Like, you should actually, I don't know, maybe double check them. Most people are aware of this, yet somehow when it comes to something on a macro scale that is way larger and way more infinitely complex than telling the weather tomorrow, somehow they know. They've got it all, man. They got it all figured out, all the actuaries. It's just trust the experts. It's just like disease. It's just like,
and they don't know. They don't even know what's going on inside the human brain, let alone the whole ecosystem.
You got it.
And I kind of saw a link here between what's happening with COVID and the climate change agenda. I mean, obviously they're very close. What I'm talking about is with the climate change thing, they're sort of setting policy now, whereas they're trying to bring it down by, if it goes up by 1 degree, then they've failed, and all these policies will kick in. So they're trying to, lower. They're setting international policy according to the degrees that the temperature is going to raise over the next 20 years, which is ridiculous. They don't know that. They can't base policy on temperature changes because they can't control it. So they're kind of saying the more we emit, it's going to go up. They don't know that for sure. And it reminded me so much of the lockdowns. Everyone stays locked down, emissions will go down, infection rates. Everyone comes out, infection rates are going to go up, and we're going to start setting, if the infections go up, you're going to go back into your houses. It's like there's no actual proof that the crowds of people are causing COVID. I'd like to see a study of a big crowd of people, like a protest, and how many people directly caught COVID-19 because of that protest. I bet you if there was a scientific study done, there's nothing happening. It's bullshit,
Yeah. Well, and because it's like, come on, man. You're going to have the people that are worried about a single political rally for fill in the blank, Donald Trump, or those damn Proud Boys or something. Guys, I'm not a fan of, but at the same time, really, we're really worried about these groups of like a couple hundred people at a rally or some shit like that, when simultaneously you have 40,000 people on the streets of DC, and then these same people are shoving it in your face, telling you you can't have more than 10 people at your house or anywhere at all, or you will be fined. But by the way, what about all these people out in the streets and whatnot? I was going to say there's a third aspect of this, because maybe you're in Thailand, so you might be a little bit more free from all this insanity than I am here in Washington. But Western Washington, especially towards Seattle and Olympia, it's Progressiveville. Let's call it that. There's literally policy, both on a city level and on some levels now on a state level, that uses cultural Marxism and things like this to describe and enforce public policy. There's literally racial diversity and fucking like what do they call it? Oh my God. It's like a truth commission. It's literally like a 1984 Orwellian thing of making sure there's enough Black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, Middle Eastern people, whatever, right? And not too many white people or too many Christians or too many men or whatever, right? On their thing of their little enforcement boards. It is a religion. All of it's a religion. And if you notice, Scott, all of it tends to tie in together, because a NPC automaton that believes one of these lies tends to believe all of them.
It is a religion or a cult. And remember, we did an episode
Religions and cults, sir.
Many years ago, and one of our listeners has written in the chat, society is now just an assortment of different cults that people blindly follow. Only a small minority seem to be able to keep their minds open. I do think that's true.
That's what I'm saying, man.
It's like, I do hope that I do see that there do seem to be more people kind of joining us, slightly more open-minded people. Like, for me, it's obvious that COVID is all. I'm not saying there may be a real disease called COVID, and it might have escaped from the Wuhan lab. I interviewed that guy. I can't remember his name now. Never mind. I interviewed one of the experts on what was I going to say? One of the experts on infections or something, and he was
the
telling
Wuhan
me
lab and all that.
the Wuhan lab. Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
obviously didn't come from the market. It's kind of a silly story that imagines there's some guy sitting down in a market, he eats a bat, and a million people are dead because
there
of
are
that.
people that believe that shit, though. That's what makes it so insulting, is that they can put out the lowest level of propaganda and the average person will buy and go, them damn Chinese always eating them funny animals and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, no. What the fuck?
This whole thing was planned. It's obvious. It's so obvious.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing that if in China they started a new disease started in America from those goddamn Midwesterners eating calf fries, eating those fried fucking cattle testicles that they pound and deep fry. They got weirdest diseases there. Of course, everyone in the rest of the world goes, oh my God, those weird Americans eating that sick food. They probably did make it. Like, get fucked. So it's completely and totally based upon a major thing of xenophobia, but that's perfect because it plays into it simultaneously while these people are telling us that racism bad, everyone needs to be woke, everyone don't judge someone by the color of their skin or nationality or whatever, everyone can be a unique special snowflake. But by the way, them goddamn Asians and the way they fucking treat animals and whatnot, they probably created the plague. Like, what kind of shit is that? That's insane.
Yeah, I had that mental block. It was Dr. Francis Boyle that I spoke to, the bioweapons expert.
I remember that one.
I do think there may be a disease that came out of that Wuhan lab. I do think that obviously the figures are all being manipulated, and maybe they don't even need the disease. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem to become deadly enough, doesn't it? Even if you look at the official figures. But I mean, speaking from my own point of view, I mean, I've been studying. I've been open-minded my entire life, really, and I've followed lots of things, lots of different ideas and philosophies. And I guess back in 1986, I was looking in. I'd already heard about that. There's going to be a coming economic crash, and I used to listen to podcasts, and some of them, even guys like Steve Quayle. I don't know if you've ever listened to Steve Quayle.
Yeah. Yeah,
I listened to a podcast he did 2 years ago. He was talking about the coming economic crash, and even said it could be brought about by a virus. So he was pretty spot on. Credit to him for that. But so when this happened, a lot of people who have been following alternative news for a long period of time knew this was fake. We knew it. We already knew it. But then it's just become confirmed day by day, week by week. I mean, they started off saying it's just 2 weeks to protect the NHS in the UK.
I was literally talking with people about that because they did the same shit here, Scott. It's the exact same thing. 2 weeks to slow the curve or to flatten the curve.
Flatten the curve. And I said to people who believe this story, I said, this is not 2 weeks. This is forever. This is forever. If you'll accept it, it's forever. And literally. Here we are. Here we are in October.
7 months later.
And it's not going to end. It's going to get worse unless people stand up to it.
I mean, Christ, if you're in Asia there, then you've probably been in lockdown, especially if you're from China, then you've been in lockdown since, like January, December, something like that.
I actually think I'm in one of the best places at the moment.
I bet you are, honestly, because
we had a lockdown. We had a lockdown. It wasn't nice, like I said. There was a lockdown during the night, 10 o'clock till 4 a.m. And if you went out, you'd be put in prison. I didn't like that period, but ever since then, I'm in on a tourist island. It's absolute paradise, and I can't complain. The only thing you'll see where there's any kind of pandemic going along is, okay, most people are wearing masks on the street. I don't do that. You have to wear a mask to go into a convenience store. I sometimes put it on. Lately, I've been taking it off to see what the reaction is. And some of the stores let me in, some of them don't. So I obviously go to the ones that will let me in without a mask now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm abroad, so it's a bit different. I wouldn't wear one at all if I was back in the UK. But this is Asia, the land of the masks, So you kind of
and also you don't want to be the foreigner that everybody just points to and goes instantly, you dangerous type. Because
that's been happening. So that's why I've been wearing the mask just for a split second, literally, to go and buy something, because they are demonizing foreigners. Because the only people now I'm in Thailand at the moment. The only people who bring COVID in are foreigners coming from abroad. And I actually think that may be a scam.
I do too, Scott. It's part of the whole thing to push us into the lockdown, that people want the lockdown more. Because if you don't close international traffic, we could get sick still. It's the same thing, man. And it leads to the slowing of ideas and the slowing of the spread of information. And it leads to it only being able to be spread via controllable pathways. I feel like this entire thing has been a giant test rollout for all their different systems that they have in place of control, from the digital surveillance system, from their ability to disseminate and create in lifetime new narratives, new information for all these people in their little echo chambers. And it's part of why I think that as time has gone on, the gap between people that are awake and the gap between people that are very much so asleep has gotten wider and wider and wider, as the rest of us that are aware know that this is complete bullshit. But we also know that almost the entirety of what all of the science is predicated upon, even the very idea of the germ theory and bacterial theory of disease and all this kind of stuff versus environmental theory of disease. There are multiple competing hypotheses that the general public is not even aware of. And it goes with all these different fields. It's the same shit of doesn't matter if we're talking about heliocentrism versus geocentrism or not. It doesn't matter what topic we're talking about. There are people questioning every single major narrative, but the general public is never allowed to question any narrative, lest they be considered thus, what are you, an anti-masker, an anti-whatever? I mean, my God, they'll call you racist, homophobe, bigot, xenophobe, anti-Semite, fucking you anti-masker, you're a science denier, you're anti-history, anti-American. I've been in the same groups of people. People on the left will be like, you goddamn right-wing Trumper moron, and then people on the left are like, you goddamn left-wing pinko, commie, hippie, fagmo, and it's like, come on, man. It gets so old. It gets so goddamn old.
Yeah.
What else we got here?
I keep having mental blocks. It must be
it's that yellow 5, man. It's the yellow number 5, Scott. It gets you every time. That's what Jason always used to say when we did Too Real News. Anytime you forget something, it's like, goddamn yellow number 5. I love it.
Let's change subjects slightly, and well, it's kind of still linked a bit, but Biden, Trump, you're over there in the US. Obviously, it's only 1 week away. Let me give you my thoughts on it a bit. Like Biden, I would say I don't understand why anybody is voting for that guy.
Because they hate Donald Trump.
If they'd seen the videos of him touching kids and that, but of course they've all been most of those have been taken off the internet now. And even if you tell people they existed, they're just like, oh, how can you say that? There's no evidence. Like, I saw the evidence, and now we've got the Hunter Biden laptop. For me, that's case closed. They've been taking millions. It's true. It's obvious, but they won't even look at that info. I'm hoping they're going to release something that's just cast iron. So for me, Biden is a no-go at all. Trump, here's what I think about Trump. I can understand why people like him, because he's not a politician, and people are sick of politicians. They're sick of the whole thing. They're sick of the lies, So,
it's funny that they're sick of the lies, and then I'm not a politician, but also a career liar and flim-flammer and shit that's friends with all these same politicians and Jeffrey Epstein and all these guys. But then there's all this damage control, and they're like, hey, he was friends with them, but he never flew the Lolita Express, at least not that we were allowed information on. I'm like, oh, well, then that means it never happened. That means because no evidence was released condemning the president of the United States of America, who actively has the FBI, CIA, and all these different institutions beneath him that he can use to control fucking anything and the flow of information at all, and could squelch almost any goddamn thing he wants to at the moment. Yeah, sure. I'm putting faith in that. But you know what I mean, man. We can get on that. The Trump tip, I want this for everybody that's the pro-Trumpers out there, because we talked. I think Trump steamrolled Biden in the debates. I hate Donald Trump, hate Joe Biden. They're both absolute trash. I would prefer both of them be in prison or take a long fall with a short rope, if you know what I'm saying. But these are the sort of people that Operation Warp Speed. That was my one. Operation Warp Speed. For all the pro-Trumpers, for all the QAnon people out there. Oh, man, he's got our backs and he's helping us out. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. How much are you going to trust the plan when you're getting on the train cars to go to the fucking camp to then get injected? How much are you going to trust the plan when the goddamn military is out in the streets at your local CVS forcing people at gunpoint to get the goddamn COVID vaccine? I'll wait.
Let's talk about the QAnon thing, because I've been looking into that quite a lot lately. Don't worry, Seth. I'm not one of the Q guys. No, but no, I haven't become a Q fan. But I'll tell you what I can see has happened. Have you seen the Qdrops where the little bits of information come out? I actually quite like those. I think most of the ones I've read are kind of like, okay, that's interesting. That's different from some of the podcasts I've listened to with the Q followers who are just talking insane things. They've taken a little bit of information and then started talking about, oh, this person's been replaced by a clone.
Oh God,
he was executed. He's gone to Gitmo. It's funny. I don't see any of that in the Qdrops. I actually think there might be something to the Qdrops. Maybe it is an insider, and I find them quite interesting to look at. But that's totally different from the crazy Q followers who are just making stuff up. There's millions.
And also that Trump has our back, that he's a secret war against the pedophiles and all this stuff. And it's like, really?
Yeah, and
really?
There's another thing I've noticed, that people believe that if you say everything's going to be okay, trust the plan, you're being positive. You're being a very positive person. If someone comes along and goes, what are you talking about? Where's your evidence? They're like, stop being so negative. You know, it's like,
don't be so cynical, man. Come on. Like, it's literally like the devil, like a fucking snake whispering into your ear. Just don't be so cynical. Like,
I
trust you.
Fake positivity is just as bad as fake negativity of being worried when you shouldn't be. It's no point being positive when you don't know what the outcome's going to be. I mean, when in fact, when it's the opposite, when you need to be prepared and you need to think what you're going to do. You can't just sit there and follow the plan, and you can't just make stuff up that people have been replaced by clones when you've got absolutely no evidence. I mean, I'm open-minded. Maybe some people have been replaced by clones, but I'm not going to say that's the case if there's absolutely nothing that points that direction.
Yeah, other than just that, I think that they did. Okay.
Yeah. Or they rescue. Like I do sometimes listen to the Q followers because I find it. Number one, I can understand the positivity is kind of nice. It's like, I want to pretend just for 10 minutes. I want to pretend that
there is Trump, somebody in the system. That they're trying to help me, man. That they're not.
Yeah, everything's going to be okay. It's nice. I understand it. I totally get that. But if you're going to say, a million kids were rescued yesterday from the underground chambers, like, and you know this because, well, I just heard somebody say it and trust the plan. It's like, oh, come on, that's pathetic.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it is, and it is the blue pill. It's the blue pill for people that think they're red pilled.
Yeah. But I will say I do like the Qdrops. I get
why. I get why. A lot of people do, and there's still people that I still respect that quote a lot of that shit. But I don't trust Trump, man. Considering the fact that I am a very staunch anti-Zionist, I don't believe that any policy at all should be based off the Bible or the Torah or the Talmud or any of it. I think that's fucking insane. Be it Muslim, Christian, or Jewish, your theocratic states run by people that openly brag about how they're theocratically running their government. It's fucking terrifying to me. Personally, that's just me, and I'm not somebody that would consider myself some huge vocal atheist or some shit, because I'm not. But fuck that noise. Fuck that noise. And the first guy that Trump talks to after their debate, after the last presidential debate, that he goes to brag to is Benjamin Netanyahu. And all these same people arguing on one side, Trump's in bed with the Russians. All these people arguing on the other side, Biden's in bed with the Chinese, or that Trump's leaving us weak, or whatever the fuck, right? All this bullshit. While simultaneously, after his election and after this last debate here, where he knew that he was going to win the election, who's the first person he calls both times? Benjamin Netanyahu. And Trump's just making those big deals and stuff like that. Have you seen any of the big peace plans Trump's helped make with, Sudan and Israel or Saudi Arabia and Israel? I'm like, oh, wow, those are such huge peace plans, except they're really not, because this isn't Jordan in Israel. It's not Lebanon in Israel. It's not Syria in Israel. It's not Egypt in Israel. It's not Iran in Israel. It's not Iraq in Israel. No. It's a bunch of U.S. puppet regimes that have been involved in our politics and vice versa in this weird ass incestuous relationship for a long ass time. Somehow, no. That's peace.
Yeah, but
peace.
In Trump's defense, Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Yes.
For doing
naturally.
what? For doing
Nothing.
what?
For promising.
I mean,
stuff.
if you gave it to Trump, at least you could say, well, he got a couple of peace deals there, even if you don't think. But it's like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, keep in mind though, Scott, the Nobel Peace Prize is literally named after a former arms dealer. So
yeah.
Something to keep in mind. Obama did help funnel a lot of arms to a lot of people and sell a lot of guns. So that might have been why.
Anyway, here's a question for you.
Right on.
I kind of feel like if Trump gets, I would actually prefer Trump to get in for another term. Either this is a story, a narrative that isn't true. Bear with me for a second. That basically, if Trump gets in, we've got more chance that things will slow down and maybe there won't be so many lockdowns and stuff like that. Maybe. But if Biden gets in, we're in deep trouble. Now, that could just be a narrative, but that's certainly what they want some of us to believe. Now, and at least if Trump gets in, at least I can cling on to that glimmer of hope that there will be a couple more years for me to go and find somewhere to hide out in the countryside.
Because that's the point.
I want to get out of society now. I've had enough. I can see the way things are going, and I need to get out of it. And maybe Trump will give me a little bit more time to do that. But maybe that's not true either. That could be a narrative. So what do you think?
Exactly. I think that's the point, Scott. And it's the same thing they did with Hillary, where it was, well, at least if Donald Trump gets elected, then, because Hillary, man, she wants war with Iran, and she's going to fight the Russians, and she's just a warmonger and psycho. And then it's Joe Biden, and it's the same shit. It was the same thing when everybody was talking with, well, we can't have Mitt Romney as president. I mean, that guy's fucking insane. We got to have Obama. Well, we can't have John McCain as president. I mean, come on, really? John McCain, he's fucking crazy. We got to have Obama for president. And then so on and so forth. Can't have John Kerry. Got to have George Bush. Can't have Al Gore. I mean, come on, man. Al Gore, man, bear, pig guy. That guy's fucking insane. We got to have George W. Bush. It's always going to be the lesser of two evils.
Look at the media. I mean, if they've all been told to pretend to be heavily biased against Trump,
I don't think they have to pretend, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, if maybe he is trying to slow things down because, it's blatantly obvious they all hate him. So is it a game they're playing with us to make us think? He's a very
easily hateable guy. Have you ever, and I know this is going to sound kind of cheesy to you and maybe to some of your audience, but those that get it will get it. Have you ever watched professional wrestling, WWF, WWE?
I was watching it the other day. I honestly hate to offend people, but I cannot understand why anyone watches it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, Scott, part of it, if you do watch it or get with it, is it's an act. It's a play. It's part of why Donald Trump has been so heavily involved in it, but also that the guy that runs all of it, Vince McMahon, is so heavily involved in it. Why, if you're the guy that runs things and all this stuff, would you want everyone to hate you? Would you want to be the heel? Well, Vince McMahon's the guy that runs everything. He's a multi-billionaire. He's funded fucking presidential campaigns, one of the most successful in the world, twice. His wife was involved in, I believe, it's the Small Business Commission or Council because of this and all this stuff. You create a narrative. You have to have a heel. You have to have a baby face. If you do not have a good guy, you cannot have a bad guy. If you don't have a bad guy that's really bad that everybody hates, then you can't have a good guy that you can sell or get over with the audience. That's why I think stuff like wrestling is so important for people within politics to understand. It's why that Jesse Ventura guy talks about it and shit like that, because it literally plays into it. Because most politics and all these people, especially during political elections and stuff, it's political theater. It's essentially a word ballet back and forth of these guys, greater rhetoric and greater bullshit that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but it goes nowhere. because in the end, it's all just hype. It's literally just hype to keep you coming back, to keep your ass in the seat, to keep you buying tickets, to keep you buying the pay-per-view, to keep you watching the shit on TV, to get advertised to. That's literally U.S. politics in a nutshell. And Donald Trump is, what's up?
You can tell when people are acting. That's why I've always hated politicians. They're fake. Hillary Clinton, Obama, I've never heard them say a sincere word. Never once. Biden's the same. Kamala Harris is the same. If Trump is pretending to be his character, he doesn't seem to be. He seems to be being himself. And sometimes his self is not a very nice character. And sometimes his self is kind of funny. I don't think he's a great guy. What I'm saying is he doesn't seem to be acting. He doesn't seem to be pretending, but maybe he's a good actor.
I hate to have to say it, Scott, but keep in mind this guy has been in Hollywood movies before, has been on TV before, had his own TV show. He does know how to read a script. He does know how to act. Also keep in mind that to bring it back to wrestling, that Vince McMahon guy is not a professional actor, and yet he can act well enough. And also, some cases he doesn't have to act because he's just a prick. And so all he has to do is just act like a prick to other people on TV and all the time, and be just because, I mean, Donald Trump is a great example of stuff when you're like, well, the media doesn't have to. I mean, if they're acting like they hate him, they don't act like they hate him. They actually hate him. Most of these people that are frothing at the mouth over it, they literally hate him to that level. And he doesn't have to pretend to be any more of a douchebag than he really is, but it gets it over on all these people. It sells him to them. Because if you notice, most of these people are running around with a narrative that Donald Trump is like a fucking neo-Nazi white supremacist and all this stuff. He feeds into that narrative to them perfectly. And it's the reason why I don't think Joe Biden was ever meant to win. And again, you know, some people call me conspiracy theorist for the fucking Zionism angle here, but Donald Trump has continued his AIPAC and ADL stuff this entire time and has continued to promote himself to Israel, who's had their hand up his butt the whole time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done doodly squat with it the entire fucking time. And any presidential election in my life, as well as the lifetime of, I'm sure you, man, that's happened here in the United States, has been decided with who does the speaking and stuff at AIPAC, who shills to the prime minister and president of Israel and all this stuff. And not just them, but the international community in general. Joe Biden has not. Whether or not the media is totally up his butt the same way they were Hillary, he hasn't. It's what makes me think Donald Trump is going to be the next step of this. He also manages to continue, like, if Donald Trump is the president, the riots continue, the burning continues, the looting continues, all of this
I
shit.
think that happens regardless, though.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah. Donald Trump provides the bad guy face better than Joe Biden does, because if Joe Biden goes away, right, let's say he either dies of natural causes or he's too mentally inept to maintain his position anymore, Kamala Harris becomes the president. How much harder is it to get all these black people? She
seems horrible.
No, she is horrible, but how much
really
harder is it
horrible.
going to be to get people to fight against a system that has a black face than it would be otherwise? Whereas with Donald Trump, neither side of that, him or White Pence, both are the old rich white guy, conservative, stingy type fucking dude that works perfectly well for their bad guy that they're trying to portray. Because you have to think of this in like the idea of political theater, because it's trying to bring people into both fear-based reactions of, well, I have to vote for Trump because otherwise Biden will get the presidency. Well, I have to vote for Biden because otherwise Trump will get the presidency. It's bringing you back into the same novel, the same fucking script every single time. And it's something that you listened to Alex Jones back in the day too, man. It's one thing I used to appreciate about that fat piece of crap before he went full mode, like shill mode for the fucking Republican Party, is he literally used to be on the tip of right and left. They're both part of the same bird, man. Right wing, left wing, it's both wings of the same bird, man. It's the exact same thing. There really is no difference between them.
I must admit, I've started listening to Alex Jones again, and
good luck.
And what happens when I do is there might be 20 minutes where he says stuff and I think, oh yeah, I agree with that, and then he just acts like a kid, starts going berserk, and then he just annoys the hell out of me.
You've seen the memes, I'm sure, on YouTube of the Alex Jones goblin rants, or a fucking like screaming about how like Somalis are gonna cut everyone's throats and rape your grandmother in the butt with a fucking hot curling iron or something. And it's like, why would you say that? What, you're supposed to be like a nationally syndicated fucking, like, a big personality and shit that draws in people and then makes them think that, well, almost like he's a honeypot. He draws people in, says the right shit, and then immediately fucking character assassinates all of it with himself in the same thing to classify anybody that says similar stuff, the fucking lunatic. And then people, this world is so fucked up.
I'm going to defend Alex Jones for a second here as well.
Fair enough.
Well, not exactly defend him, but say, I would rather watch the Alex Jones show, and I feel like I would get more real information than if I listened to the BBC News.
Yeah, but I feel the same way if you listen to the fucking Young Turks, man. And I hate the Young Turks. But I feel, that's
the only point I'm making. It's like the BBC are so out of touch with reality now. They're just, I can't watch them anymore.
I actually completely agree with all TV news on that one, to the point that Fox News is the closest to not being a giant pile of dog shit of any of them. And Fox News is still terrible. Fox News is fucking terrible. It's a bad example of journalism, but there's at least a chance when you almost have like maybe a 5% chance that something you hear on Fox News is not only an actual thing that's going on that isn't just completely fictitious fucking bullshit news, but is also put out there with a spin that is almost like a decent human being would say this or think this, right? Whereas almost all the spin from any other mainstream publication I've ever seen ever, and even from Fox News most of the time, is like some of the most backward fucking like moon logic shit I have ever heard in my entire life of like, well, Donald Trump, got peed on by prostitutes, and like, well, do we have any proof of that? Well, someone said it was our trusted sources, but then simultaneously in the exact same sentence be like, and that's why we can't trust WikiLeaks and those other things because they're just random sources. What? What?
Yeah, well, if you look at the BBC reality check guide, how to spot fake news, basically if it didn't come from the BBC or CNN, it's fake news.
Yeah. Almost like it's 1984.
Hello to everyone in the chat, by the way. Little J has said it's always their guy, but sometimes that guy goes rogue like Kennedy. Do you think Trump is the rogue guy, or is he... I think he is being used rather than he's playing a role which he knows it's all a lie. I think he's being used by the deep state. Or maybe he isn't. Maybe he is going against them. I don't know. I'm confused. But either way, whether he wins or loses... I hate to say it, but I think there's a good chance you could have a civil war over there. Do you think that's a possibility?
Oh, Scott, what the fuck you think's already happening, man? And I've literally discussed this with somebody. I had some friends come over the other day, and these guys start going on this tip of like, well, you got to have Biden get elected. Otherwise, Trump will start a civil war. And I'm like, most of the major cities in America have been getting fucking looted and burned for the last goddamn 6 months or 5 months, whatever. And we can't, there might be a civil war, guys. There's literally militias of crazy fucking people dividing along ethnic lines, political lines, nationalistic ideology, religious ideology, all this shit in the streets, fighting each other, killing each other, burning down people's shit. And yet there might be a civil war, guys. I'm sorry, man. I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's just living in it and seeing it every single day around me. It's become like, what fucking world are the rest of you people living in, man? Like, it is a civil war.
It's going a bit mad. I mean, as Kieran said earlier about the cults, there's little cults forming, like Black Lives Matter. I saw them. It was on the Alex Jones show again, but one of I think it was a white guy from Black Lives Matter, punched a black guy in the face and broke his teeth. So he's like, Black Lives Matter, but obviously not that black guy.
Well, it's dude. To me, the lie, I got a line about it in one of my songs. The whole Black Lives Matter thing fell to pieces when David Dorn got murdered. The entire fucking thing, all of this. This retired black cop, former police officer and shit, goes and tries to stop people from looting, and they fucking murdered him.
Yeah, I saw that.
The second they killed that dude, it was all instantly. It's all nothing. But granted, we all knew Black Lives Matter was bullshit before this by like years. It's just for some reason now they just get all this legitimacy because the media gives it to them with complete leeway. The United Nations, all this. Oh yes, there's completely legitimate causes. None of you are completely fucking delusional psychopaths that are like parroting the sort of talking points that if Hebrew Israelites were to come in at you and start talking about Yakub and all this fucking nonsense, most people would go, that's fucking crazy. You said white people came from roots and stuff grown by a black wizard in a cave somewhere. That's fucking crazy and racist. Yet, when these same sort of people throw it, well, hey, man, you think Black Lives Matter, don't you? Give me money then. Yeah. Give us money then. And it's like,
people are only interested in titles. They don't delve deeper. So Black Lives Matter, that just means Black Lives Matter. But if you go to their
start an organization, call it Rape is Bad. We're going to funnel money directly to the Republican Party. That's all we do is fundraise directly for the Republican Party. But rape is bad. And if you're against us, then what are you for rape? I mean, come on. What do you, dude, come on, all these pro-rapists out here. Like,
that's the weird thing. People are looking at surface level stuff. That goes back to what I was saying earlier about a politician just says something, surface level. Okay, I like them. They just said something.
Well, yeah, it's the Coyotes thing. It's the Coyotes thing all over again, man. That if you don't, the fact that there are people that should know the context of what a coyote is or anything like that, that because they live here. In fact, in many cases, these people that live in the American Southwest or close to our border that should know what a coyote is because most people around them do. But because they live in such a little echo chamber bubble and are so willfully ignorant, they go, what, does President Trump really think that there's actual coyotes dragging kids across the border? Or that the media then goes, what are you going to do about these 545 little kids that don't have their parents, President Trump? And it's like, why don't they have their parents? Almost like they're being trafficked.
All surface level stuff, yeah. And I saw a great example of this in a BBC article the other day, which if you look at it, it's whoever wrote it should just be ashamed. It's pathetic. I've never seen a worse case, actually. Basically, the title was a guy from Exxon said it didn't. Trump basically gave a hypothetical situation, and the title of the BBC article was "It didn't happen." Exxon boss, the phone call didn't happen. Yeah, Trump lied. It didn't happen. Yeah, and Trump. It's so ridiculous. It's a whole story. Basically, Trump said that if I was to pick up the phone and call the head of Exxon, I could say to him, give us some money for my campaign, and he'd probably do it. So he gave a hypothetical situation. And then the Exxon guy tweeted out, oh, just for clarification, that phone call never happened. It's like, Trump didn't say the phone call. Yeah. He said, I could pick up the phone and call the guy from Exxon. And so the guy tweeted out, it didn't happen. BBC.
And that's a new story.
Headline of the article, Trump lied, it didn't happen. It's like, what? He didn't lie. It was a hypothetical situation. It's the most ridiculous story I've ever seen.
Well, and I think they do stuff like that because it gets people to fall further into the tip of on either side. Either the average sheep looks at that and goes, oh my God, that Donald Trump guy, what a piece of crap. He just lies about everything. What a loser. But then the people on the other side that know that almost everything the media says is just fucking lies, right? Over and over again, then start to get inoculated to it, if you will. It starts to become more of a thing of, man, then that means Trump must be the good guy because, I mean, they hate him so much and they wouldn't hate him so much if he wasn't the good guy. I'm like, except I remember quite well that if you're somebody that doesn't trust the news, right, mainstream news, there was a certain guy named Barack Obama that Fox News hated like a motherfucker, thought he was just the worst thing ever. Does that make him good? I mean, if you're somebody that doesn't like Fox News, if you're somebody that's a liberal, right? And so that just revalidates it to you that he's the good guy. He's fighting the good fight because the mainstream partisans that are on the opposite side of the political spectrum from him don't like him. And they don't like anybody on the other side of the political spectrum from them.
No, Obama's amazing. Remember, Seth? He's fantastic. The media love him.
I still know people that fucking miss him, dude, and that say stuff about how great he is. And as somebody that was covering the news there the entire time, dude was hot garbage. Like literally one of the most trash politicians and human beings we have ever had leading this.
He has no sincerity. He's a good speaker. I'll give him that. He's a very good speaker.
He's an ice speaker. It's just we've had some fucking shitty ones for the last couple presidents between Trump, him, and goddamn George W. and then Bill Clinton. Fuck, man. Of course, Barack Obama seems like the good speaker out of those guys.
When I say good speaker, I mean good liar, basically. He can lie in a very professional way. From the chat room, Big Rob NZ. Is that New Zealand? I don't know. He says, Civil War, where have you been? Well, I haven't been in the USA, so I'm in Thailand. Over here, I'm literally going to the beach every day, so there's no Civil War here. When I say I think there may be Civil War in the USA, okay, you've got some riots and stuff. I mean, like full on, like coming outside and everyone's gunning each other down.
Just wait
in
for
every
warp
street.
speed. Just wait for warp speed, man.
Okay, I don't know if you know. Have you heard the the Q followers' explanation for the Operation Warp Speed?
I would love to hear your rendition of it.
I only know this briefly. I don't know it in depth, but some of them are saying that he's not going to. That basically he took the vaccination program away from Bill Gates, and he's taken control of it. And so he's going to give out some drugs, like some medicine, rather than giving the vaccination. Probably not true, but anyway, that's their explanation. Big Rob NZ also said, Black Lives Matter, it's just people's chance to get power, nothing else. Yeah, very true. Pretty bit like the climate change thing, basically.
Yep.
Just believe it and follow it. Don't look into it at all. Just don't.
Well, imagine that. Almost like most people that run these movements have nothing invested into the actual movement. They're just people that are intelligent enough and immoral enough to want to lead it and control it into whatever direction they think they can get out of it. It's the same thing with all of our history, man. It doesn't matter what nation state, an ideology of like nationalism or ideology of loyalty to a king and country, loyalty to a religion, loyalty to whatever, a family. There are people that are highly immoral that will use these ideas to get whatever the fuck they want, man. And that's what we see at the leadership at the top of everything. I mean, goddamn, the Pope Francis is a great example of that. You really think Pope Francis cares so much about gay unions?
He's such a
he
nice
just wants
guy.
to help people.
He's
such a nice guy. Kissing people's feet.
BBC have written many articles saying he's a nice guy. So he is a nice guy, Seth. Don't question it. He's a very nice guy.
And it makes perfect sense that the media, who constantly shits on anybody that's super religious and conservative and Christian or anything like that, and shits on Catholics and Catholicism constantly, would praise him about how good he is. He's just such a good guy. Yeah, because that's not a giant fucking red flag right there.
And what about the previous Pope, Ratzinger? He had such kind eyes.
Ratzinger was a great name for him.
He had such kind eyes, that guy. He was such a nice guy. He looked like the devil himself, that guy. He looks incredibly evil.
He looked like a fucking sci-fi side character or some shit that they meet in like a bar somewhere. Yes, good. It's like, yeah, okay. I wonder what planet's he from? I don't know, man. I don't know. Certainly ain't this one.
I want to shift the conversation back to the Q guys a little bit. Yes. Actually, it's not just Q. It's not just Q. Adrenochrome. I'm going to change the subject a bit. Adrenochrome, which the Q followers have been going on about, but it has been around for years, let's face it. There's been this kind of idea that some of the elites are pedophiles and they need the adrenochrome chemical, which comes from when you torture someone and it releases some chemical from from glands. And by the way, Seth, here's a little conspiracy theory to go with that. I heard about it and then I typed it in to make sure it's true. But if you go onto Google and type Wuhan adrenochrome, have you looked into that at all?
No, I have not.
The Wuhan lab where this COVID-19 is supposed to come from, they also make, they also make and are studying adrenochrome. If you type in Wuhan lab adrenochrome on Google, you'll find some information about it. You don't have to do that now. I just mean the listeners, basically. It's a bit weird. Like sometimes I wonder, like, not that the Q followers are 100% right with all their crazy stories, but what the hell's going on in that Wuhan lab? Could they be making adrenochrome? Is this all related to some pedophile network? And there was all these stories of all these top stars like Madonna and Ellen and people like that, and Tom Hanks. And when the lockdowns came, they couldn't get their adrenochrome and they were panicking and releasing weird videos like Madonna did from her bathroom. And then the QAnon guy said that Tom Hanks was executed. Now, there's definitely something weird going on with Tom Hanks. Have you been following that story at all?
Yeah, I've seen the Tom Hanks stuff since we covered, Jesus Christ, this was a while ago, Scott, like 5 years ago, plus the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. Because Tom Hanks was one of the big names on that fucking list of the Lolita Express and whatnot. And the second I realized he's friends with Epstein, that instantly, I want friends with the biggest and most like prolific pedophile in the entire fucking world and procurer of children for other pedophiles and stuff. I wonder why you're friends with him. I'm sure it was nothing but completely and totally above board and honest stuff. You just moral stuff. I mean, he's Tom Hanks. He's fucking Forrest Gump. There's no way he could be diddling kids or a terrible piece of shit, right?
I have to confess, that used to be one of my favorite films.
I get it,
Forrest
man.
Gump. I like that film, but now, yeah,
Dude,
Tom
I used
Hanks.
to like Kevin Spacey, man, in like goddamn Seven and stuff like that. And then this motherfucker comes out with stuff, and it's just like, nope.
I do think there could be a paedophile. I do think there is a paedophile network, but how big it is, I don't know. I mean, but with the Tom Hanks story, they said he was executed. I don't believe that, but he has disappeared. He's disappeared off Facebook. He used to write there every day. They said he was executed in May. He disappeared since May, and he's gone off Twitter.
I think it has more to do with what we were just talking about of the Epstein stuff, that everyone knows him now and has been calling him out in any story I've seen with him in any media. We're talking Facebook, YouTube, whatever, man, even like Yahoo News or some bullshit like that. Everybody is getting mad flack about it to the point that it's inundated everywhere because everyone knows and is calling him out on it. Of why were you friends with Jeffrey Epstein? Why are you flying on his plane? Why you knew, and everyone knew for a long time that all these accusations were out there, that he's a fucking creep. And yet you were still hanging out with him.
Did you know this story has some connection to this actual show we're on at the moment as well?
How so?
Let me tell you the connection. Well, did you hear about Isaaac Kappy?
Sounds very familiar. That name sounds very, very familiar.
Isaaac Kappy, I'm not sure what he does in Hollywood. He might have been an actor, I don't know. But he came out some years back, or was it last year or 2 years ago? He came out and started trying to expose the pedophile network in Hollywood. Okay. And he named Tom Hanks, amongst other people. He named him. He went on the Alex Jones show. And if you want to see Alex Jones acting really weird, watch his interview with Isaaac Kappy. There's some people that say Alex Jones is like the gatekeeper protecting something. I don't believe that, but if you watch that show, you think, what the hell? Alex Jones doesn't seem to want Isaaac Kappy to name any names or say anything. Well, he starts acting really weird. If you want me to
defend Jones, I'll take my turn to defend Jones on this one there, Scott. Okay. I think he doesn't want to get fucking sued, or didn't want to get fucking sued for the exact same thing of the Sandy Hook stuff once those parents got all up in his butt in court.
I did think that.
Yeah.
I did think that, but I mean, it goes beyond that. He doesn't.
Okay.
I know, Alex Jones often talks over his guests and stuff.
Unless they're a Freemason.
Yeah, but he almost does it in a way that he doesn't want Isaaac Kappy to get any information out. But anyway, the story with Isaaac Kappy is he started talking about Tom Hanks and then talking about the Facebook. Then it kind of moved on to stories about Tom Hanks's Facebook posts, where he had these really weird Facebook posts showing pictures of gloves or shoes on the street. It was kind of creepy stuff. And anyway, Isaaac Kappy wound up dead, apparently by suicide. Jumped off a bridge on Route 66, or one of the routes. Yeah, and
that's not symbolic at all.
And then the next day, Tom Hanks posted a photo with a picture on Route 66 of one of his gloves or something. And then he said, roadkill. And it was like, people said, is that something? Did he have Isaaac Kappy bumped off, basically? Well, Isaaac Kappy that day was investigating some kind of weird camping ground. He was trying to follow leads about this pedophile network. And he was supposed to be meeting up with Tracy Twyman, who was one of the guests on my show. Remember, I talked to her about Epstein. Yeah. She was supposed to be meeting Isaaac Kappy, or they were talking about this campground. Well, anyway, Isaaac Kappy committed suicide. Lo and behold,
suicide. Yeah,
suicide. He was suicided. Lo and behold, Tracy Twyman's following the same leads, and she commits suicide in her garage. One of the guests we had on this very show, and people say that's very suspicious as well. So who knows what's going on there, but definitely something weird going on with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I see here in the comments we got somebody talking about the Pizzagate is real. Pete's talk is about children. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Just watch Tom Hanks at his young daughter's beauty pageant at 560. Oh, God, I'm sure it's probably creepy as fuck, dude, because I'd seen that he was involved in the power structure, and I have seen straight up he is a Freemason. That is a fucking fact. And it's interesting that all these guys that all tie back into the same system are all a part of the same club, but you don't want to be a fucking conspiracy theorist here or nothing. A big, weird, creepy old man's club that also has a obsession with the generative principle and the idea of the elderly feeding upon the energy of the young and stuff. I wouldn't have any idea how that could be construed as a group that would allow certain people.
Pizzagate was debunked, Seth.
yeah, definitely. I saw those Facebook fact checkers.
I saw it on BBC, and it was debunked. I've had people tell me it was debunked. So end of story. We can forget about that.
Well, yeah, some random guy heard it on the TV. So now we know.
And the interesting thing was
in the line with that though, in the line with the Pizzagate stuff, pizza and ice cream. And all these different things being used as their code words and code terms and all of this.
That's debunked, Seth.
Yeah, right, sure. Exactly. They were talking about actual pizza and actual ice cream, actual flowers, actual lasagna, even when it made no fucking sense. What the fuck is a pizza-related map? What the fuck is that? Okay? I don't understand.
Coincidentally, around the time that Pizzagate, the whole Pizzagate conspiracy came out, the whole fake news thing came out.
Yep.
Directly afterwards. That's purely a coincidence, Seth. That's nothing to do with the Pizzagate thing. It's just coincidence. It came out.
Well, yeah, and the biggest pedophile that got suicided in the world there, also that was friends with both of the political candidates that were running in that election. That also involved the Pizzagate stuff and all this stuff. I mean, we literally had the guy that was later elected president was at first like, Jeffrey, he likes his girls a little bit young, but, who doesn't, right? Something along the like younger than I do, but who does? Some bullshit like that, flippant, like offhand comment. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Let me just see. Let me see how we're doing with our list of topics. So we talked about Tracy Twyman and Isaac Kappy.
The World Health Organization says masks don't work.
They said that at the very beginning. So did Fauci, and he's now reversed. It's obvious. Look, you don't need to be a scientist. Of course, it doesn't work. Number one, you can't bloody well breathe properly when you're wearing them. It's unhealthy. You'll get cold sores. You'll get bacteria around your mouth. Yeah. You can't breathe. If you haven't got symptoms, I don't care what anyone says. Sorry, you're not sick. If you haven't got the symptoms, you're not sick. This is the bullshit they're saying, that if you're not sick, you could still be carrying the disease. They've even done studies. 450 people, I think it was, could be 480. People who were asymptomatic, didn't have the symptoms, but did test positive, and none of them spread it to anyone else in a study of 450 people. It's bullshit.
Well, considering their thing of testing positive it's so fucking dubious of what they're doing anyways, not to mention that they're very likely to be getting you sick by breaking your blood-brain barrier, which just that instantly is, they're just jamming shit right up into your fucking nose, into your sinuses and stuff, right? Trying to almost touch your goddamn brain. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that's completely fine, because that seems natural. That seems natural.
I've got to the point with the COVID-19 story. Like, I started investigating and look at the numbers. It's all ridiculous. I knew it wasn't true anyway. Now, I don't even need to discuss it. It's just so ridiculous. If anyone else wants to talk about it, fine, I'll join in. But it's just so ludicrous, the whole story. It's a scam, and the faster people wake up to that and join the people who are going to fight against it, the faster. If everyone just says forget about this is stupid, then we can end it ourselves, because
it would be easy as hell. That's what makes this so goddamn frustrating, Scott. Is you can see it, man. If people just en masse just said no, it would be done. It would be done like fucking that. There are countries that literally said no. There are states in my own goddamn nation that just said no. And
heating's on here in Scotland, lads. What does that mean then, Seth? Is she saying hurry up and end the show, or is she saying have you seen the comment there? Heating's on here in Scotland, lads.
I don't know.
Is that because she doesn't want to catch coronavirus?
I don't know. I'm just saying
not sure.
It could just be because it's literally cold as shit. I mean, it has been pretty goddamn cold, and they're talking about the cold winter's upon us and all this shit for the election. I will say, I want to know your opinion for there in Thailand and everything, because here in the United States, there's definitely been a certain economic impact of the shutdowns, and I'm kind of curious about yourself.
She just said it's damn cold.
Exactly. Got it.
Funny enough.
Same here, man. Same here.
The heating's on there, the air conditioner and fans on here in Thailand. What was your question again, Seth? Sorry.
How is the economic impact of the shutdown affecting your day-to-day life there in Thailand? Because I'm really curious about how it's affecting other people. For us, everything has gotten more expensive across the fucking board.
I'm glad you said that, because one of our last topics. Oh, actually, no, it isn't the last topic, but it's kind of coming down to the final few topics, the economic crash. But let me tell you the situation here in Thailand. I feel like I'm in the best place in the world because I've got the beach here. I can walk around outside without a mask, although not everyone is. I mean, a lot of people are wearing masks when they walk around, and I can go about my life fairly normally. I'm pretty happy here, but on the downside, I look around at all the shops. There's massage places in Thailand because it's like a tourist area.
Yeah.
There's all the restaurants, all the bars. They rely on tourists. I'm literally almost the only. I'm not the only tourist on the island, but there's not many left.
No,
They all
dude, I
either
get it.
left. They all already left, or nobody's allowed in anymore. The borders are still shut in Thailand. No incoming tourists, and I can guarantee you. I feel a bit sorry because I see the Thais sort of thinking, oh, maybe if we can just hold on for another month, we can save our business. I've tried to tell some of them, and I think some of them know it deep down. This whole place in 6 months, every single business is going to be closed forever. I'm not joking. They're screwed. The economy is going to be devastated here. There's going to be people. I hope they won't starve, because I think the Thais are pretty good at living off the land, whereas in the West, people have forgotten how to do it. People have still got land here and they're growing vegetables, but the economy is going to be absolutely devastated here. It's going to be absolutely
I guess we're in the
wrecked.
same boat, Scott, because it's the same thing. I literally live in a little tourist trap out here near Mount Rainier. So yeah, considering all of the town that I live near, Mineral, most of its business comes from tourism for the fishing and stuff like that. LB is everybody going up to Mount Rainier and everything. And we haven't had jack squat in terms of tourists for this year other than other Americans and whatnot. You know what I mean? Because the foreign traffic has been dead because there's like nobody coming in. And so, I mean, granted, it has been a little bit offset because the amount of people coming out because of the lockdown and all this shit, because they have nothing else to do. So I guess let's go to the mountain. But that shit's drying up really, really, really fast. And anything up here and in the general area that is not a business related to infrastructure or groceries or something related to, I guess, computer repair, because electronics are doing okay right now because of how many people are using them. That kind of stuff is the only thing things that are doing really good. A lot of restaurants even are kind of fucked right now because of the super social distancing requirements, because you can only have like 25% capacity at your restaurant, which most of these restaurants were already operating barely in the black. You know what I mean? They were barely making a little bit of profit here and just keep going into the future, because it's how most businesses operate, right? They operate with like 2 weeks of overhead or a month of overhead. Nobody's operating with fucking 2 years or a year and a half of overhead to just be able to be fine. We just have all this excess funds to just throw at fucking everything. It'll be cool. Come on, whatever. The economic illiteracy of the average person out here blows my fucking mind when they're like, hey man, it's just money. It's just money. It's just the economy. Come on, we'll all be fine. We can still feed people even if nobody's got a job and nobody's going to work. I mean, I'm in a state of people that the biggest employer in the goddamn state, Boeing, just sent one of their latest projects to another state. And they're looking at sending most, I'm assuming, future projects to other states, because Washington is such a giant pain in the ass. Because, the left coast policies out here, man. If everybody wants to get it, come on, man, you're not paying your fair share. Get taxed a little bit more here, get taxed a little bit more there, until all of us are running on fumes because everything's so goddamn expensive. It's not even funny. But don't worry. This next tax will save everything. Out here, it was the weed tax was the last one. The weed tax, it'll pay for the schools. It'll pay for all this bullshit. It's just, I don't know, man. The lockdowns are driving me fucking crazy. The lack of people going to school is insane.
Just remember, staying home saves lives.
Yes. And isn't it wonderful to appeal to, especially for Americans, appeal to fucking laziness of all things, to be heroic? Jesus Christ, dude. I live in the laziest nation on earth. And of course, all these fat, entitled fucking slobs are like, well, I can just sit around and watch CNN and I'm helping people. Oh, Game of Thrones is on. Like, who gives a fucking shit? And these people are just, yeah, I'm helping. I'm helping. Playing video games, fucking sitting, reading a book, whatever. Yeah. Just, yep. Just, I'm helping.
Maybe in a few years, people can turn around to them and say, thank you for your service. during the Great Reset. Yeah, people in the
What is
chat
it?
are talking.
Okay.
Talking about the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. I wanted to talk about I think
it's world
the weird,
communism, dude. It's world
the
communism.
weird
It is
thing
what
that's
it
going to
is.
happen 6 months and a year from now is going to be absolute economic devastation.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be blamed on the lockdowns. It's going to be blamed on the virus, isn't it? It wasn't the lockdowns, it was the virus. But we know for a fact it was the lockdowns, not the virus. The virus is barely killing anyone. The official figures have all been ramped up. And yeah, I think I was mentioning earlier, like many years ago, back in the 1980s, I used to go to, I used to listen to this guy called Barry Smith. He was like a preacher, kind of Alex Jones type.
Yeah, it's like the Steve Quayle type thing.
Yeah, Steve Quayle type thing. And he was talking about the coming economic reset and the economic crash. And I always kind of thought it was going to happen. And I think it is going to happen. Like it's happening now, but I think there's going to be a serious crash. Money's going to get wiped out, replaced with the digital currency. You can see this mark of the beast thing coming for sure, maybe linked to the vaccine. So if you don't have the vaccine, you can't buy, sell, travel. I can see it all coming. That's why I'm heading for the countryside as soon as I can. Barry Smith wrote about the barcodes. He did. If you go, he was Australian, I think. Yeah. They're writing about him in the chat at the moment. Yeah. I actually went to see Barry Smith. He came to our small town in England, a place called Fleet in Hampshire.
Yep.
And he was a very interesting guy. I liked the way he spoke, and I bought all his books. He was like a kind of mix between Alex Jones, David Icke, and a few other people. But he
hopefully
was
not too much of certain elements of David Icke, if you know what I'm saying.
Which elements?
It's the moon being a space station run by intergalactic reptiles, and I'm like, fuck me, man. You had me until you started going to the moon's a space station with intergalactic reptiles, man. I'm like, the elite are corrupt. Like, I'm with it. They're probably pedophiles. I'm with it. Like, all the wars are started on lies. I'm with it. Because they're all fucking lizard people living in the moon. You're like, Angel.
I'm going to defend David Icke here now because
okay, I'm with it.
I think he's more right about a lot of things than he is wrong about things. And whilst I don't agree with everything he says, I still think he's generally in the right direction. I've met David Icke as well, actually. He's got some issues.
Well, you had Gareth Icke on here too.
Huh?
Yeah, Gareth.
I had Gareth Icke on here. He was a very nice guy. Yeah. I think I've invited David Icke on my show quite a few times, and he will not reply. And I actually think I know why. I think he's got all my messages. I'll tell you why. And just in case, I think it's because of a show we did some years back called Conspiracy Theory, and we focused on David Icke, but it wasn't me that did it. I gave the reins to Anthony, and it was a bit negative. And at the end, I said, "Well, I kind of think he's not too bad, But it was too late. I think David Icke listened to that episode and thought, "I'm not going on there." Basically,
well, I don't know, Scott. I hope that that's not how he is, but at the same time, it is what it is, man. I just know that I've been on a lot of stuff with a lot of people, and I know for a fact a lot of them don't necessarily think the best things about me in the world. But at the same time, I'm still willing to go on and discuss stuff with them, even if I know for a fact that they're not a fan, or if somebody's not a fan of me. I mean, come on. Do you think there are even times where I'm just, this is more for people listening, do you think there are times that Scott, Anthony, Phil, and myself, or any of the other guests that we had on, Corey Washington, Pete, from Truth, Stranger Than Fiction, anybody like that, do you think all of us ever fully agreed on everything?
No, we don't. And it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And yet everybody wants to have this weird echo chamber where it's, I am right, I am all the time, nobody disagrees with me. I actually really like having the big spirited debate and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, we're still all, it's like you just said there, you just come in, give your defense of David Icke, of why you think that he's not wrong on stuff. Solid. I'm with it. At no point do we have to insult each other, be like, you're dumb because blah, blah, blah. And that sort of shit is not productive, and it feels way more like that's what the mainstream news has become. Good debate is good.
I think a good debate is good.
Well, and it doesn't even have to be a debate to just have a fucking conversation. You know what I mean? You just add some nuance to it. I'm like, oh, well, I like your opinion. I dig it.
What I don't like, which I'm seeing quite a lot of lately, I hate it when and this has happened with David Icke. I've seen people writing comments like, he's a shill, he doesn't believe such and such. And I'm just think, just because you disagree with him on that one point doesn't make him a shill. And then they'll put a link to a video where it's like, oh, David Icke debunked and proof he's a shill. And I watched the video. There's no proof on there at all. It's just that he disagrees with a
I've never seen any David Icke shill products, but I will say Alex Jones is the dictionary definition of a shill. Considering most people that they call shills, they mean to say are controlled opposition or whatever. Whereas Alex Jones is the literal old school definition of a shill of trying to sell you a product, right? Of pretending to be impartial, but in reality, he has a 100% stake in you buying this product. Buy my product. So that kind of stuff, I get it. I mean, who knows? David Icke might have done that. I've never seen it. Whatever, but I hate when people misuse the actual term too, because there's a difference between you thinking shill, somebody is, because shill is not controlled opposition. It's not the same thing.
A lot of people by shill think you mean kind of like he's paid by the government to do a certain job.
Yeah, that's controlled opposition. That's COINTELPRO. That's an entirely separate thing from being a shill. A shill is somebody that's trying to make money. It's a huckster, a flim-flam man.
I don't think there are many. I think there are controlled opposition people out there, but I think you can tell when someone is acting. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people like Trump are acting. They're very good at it. But even Johnny Depp, I can tell he's acting when he's in his movies and stuff. I think
especially as Captain Jack Sparrow. I hope, Scott.
Someone like Alex Jones, for example. The way he acts, a lot of the time he believes what he's saying. I don't think somebody's paying him to say a certain thing, although he is heavily influenced. I mean, look at him now, totally influenced by Trump to an almost pathetic level. That was a big mistake of his, I think, to do that.
Well, but, especially given how much distance Trump and all these other guys have put between themselves and Alex Jones. That's the thing that I don't think most of these people realize. Same with the Proud Boys when Trump threw them under the bus and acted like he literally compared them to like the Klan or some shit. And it was like, these are the guys that are supposed to be like, stand ready or whatever the fuck, right? And yet he's already shitting on him. And people go, oh, well, it's just for the media's sake and all this type of stuff. I'm like, dude, do you realize that the average populace is seeing all this type of stuff and then is demonizing you guys for later? You are literally being set up as lambs to the slaughter. And the Black Lives Matter people and the Antifa guys are in the exact same boat. And these dumb sons of bitches don't even realize it right now, because in both cases, they're being played up into a fucking false confrontation with each other that when they meet up, both sides, you're going to get arrested, man. You're going to go to jail. You're going to have all the justification they have for the cop bootlickers now because of all the Antifa people and all the goddamn BLM people acting like morons. The bootlickers they now feel completely justified, completely validated. When the state's kicking people's doors in and forcing people to get vaccinated and busting your fucking skull open, they're going to be like, well, just shut up and follow the system, man. Thin blue line, blue lives matter, all this fucking shit. And then people on the other side of this get to see Donald Trump in a stupid advertisement with the guy. Yes, he is saying it facetiously, but still going white power and stuff like that. That sort of shit is what the average moron on the left sees. And then they go, oh my God, Donald Trump and those guys, they're going to start a civil war with white supremacists. And it's both sides have been completely and totally fed a line of bullshit and are living in a false reality.
No, Seth, you're a white supremacist because you don't believe in mainstream media. So you're right wing.
Race is a what is it? A political construct and whatnot. It's just a social construct. So I mean, I'm black. What are you talking about, Scott?
No, you're a white supremacist. Be racist.
I can't be racist, Scott. I'm black. Can't you see my skin? I'm black.
Oh yeah, maybe you are.
I'm every bit as black as Sean King. So
you're a white supremacist.
Maybe I should leave BLM.
You believe in alternative media, which makes you right wing, which makes you a white supremacist.
Even if I was actually black, because I remember 50 Cent just got in some trouble recently for endorsing Donald Trump. And now all these white people are coming out and being like, you ain't black. And I'm like, am I living in the fucking Twilight Zone now where all these people are just like, yes, listen to black people, listen to everything they say. Their struggle is our struggle, until they say something that I don't agree with, in which case, shut up, you're not black. Like, what kind of fucking just good delusions, just depth of delusion,
logic.
Whole society. Yeah,
that's definitely one. Rather than people dying this year, I think one death that's been the most obvious is the death of logic.
Yep.
That's definitely died this year.
And I ain't talking about the rapper, if you know what I'm saying. Like, god damn.
We've had a question from Neil, who's actually following from Facebook,
Okay, cool.
and he's actually said, "How do you think the Great Reset will play out?" And I've already said what I think. I think there's going to be a huge economic crash. Steve Quayle actually said it's going to be. I think it was him that said it's imminent, like in the next few weeks. I think it was Steve Quayle. I might be wrong about that.
Well,
But I think there's going to be a stock market crash. All currency is going to be wiped out. Digital currency, don't know if it's going to be Bitcoin. The good news for people who don't have much money is you're going to be actually just as well off as all the rich people because they'll have nothing. So they have more to lose. So I think that's going to happen. I think the vaccine mark will come in like the mark of the beast where you can't buy anything. It might not be mandatory, but it will be just as good as mandatory because you won't be able to do anything. My plans are to try to get out of this system and try and find a place by a lake and just hide out because I do think this is all going to happen. But what do you think is going to play out?
Honestly, I think it's going to be pretty much exactly like you're saying there, Scott. I've been listening to Gerald Celente, a bunch of people like that, John Reagan for a minute when it comes to economic stuff. And both cases, their entire thing is that no system that is based upon fiat currency and that is not based upon an actual resource that is finite, that can be, you know what I mean, controlled, that literally is its own check and balance by the fact that there is only so much of it to go around, right? For how much money can be worth. When you use fiat currency, it can be anything. You can create whatever fucking ridiculous numbers you want to the point that you have people with wheelbarrows full of banknotes going to buy a loaf of bread and some milk from the store, right? You know, Weimar Republic style stuff or Yugoslavia style stuff. And I have a feeling that's where we're going. And the general populace is not necessarily ready for it. I don't even know that some of those of us that are prepared or preppers or anything like that are really prepared for it.
I'm not ready for it. You know, I'm not. I want it. I do hope that I've got a bit of time to sort things out. I mean,
you don't. I'm sorry, Scott, but you don't. You got to light the fire under your ass for anything that you're wanting to do while you can.
I feel like I'm in a good place. I feel like I know a couple of people I could kind of maybe eat some of their vegetables with them or something. You know, I feel like
at the very least the country you're in right now isn't nearly as horrible as a lot of other places. And I'm not just saying that to be trite or just make you feel better or some shit, but it is so far seems a lot less shitty than a lot of other places you could be right now.
If I was back in my home country, the UK,
oh, fuck.
I honestly, I'm almost dreading going back to the UK, which I'll do at some point in the future because I want to collect my pension over there at some point.
Well, you know, and you have family and stuff, so I'm assuming,
but when I get back there, I think it could literally be like Nazi Germany. I mean, you're not allowed to gather in groups of 6 people over there now, which is just ridiculous. I mean, there's so many ridiculous rules over there. You've got all the essential items now that you're allowed to buy and not allowed to buy in shops. So apparently clothes and baby products are not essential anymore. It's just stupid. And I kind of dread what it's going to be like going back to see my country. I'm not a very patriotic person, but to go back to where you came from and it's all completely different.
And it's literally a scene out of 1984 where certain goods are like, oh, nope, we don't have any razors anymore. We haven't had them for weeks. It just happens. We just have shortages. It's that takes us back to the debate. This is something that I thought was just anybody that is with it probably laughed their fucking ass off when Joe Biden said, it's like, Donald Trump's talking about lying to make people not panic. Americans don't panic. Scott, I can tell you 100%. When all of this shit popped off, everyone panicked like a motherfucker. There's a reason there was no toilet paper anywhere, why most of the fucking food was gone, why most of the canned goods and most of the actual like essentials were completely stripped from most store shelves and people were like literally fist fighting each other over it. Americans don't panic. People don't panic. Come on. What are you talking about? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I'm definitely going to bet on that one.
Yeah.
Well, hey, as it
But
says there
probably-
at the bottom of the things, babies aren't essential. No shit. We've
Yeah, I
reached a
saw
point
that.
when
I don't know where to
Black
go with
Lives
that.
Matter unless you're in the womb. But then also interesting how when celebrities lose a baby, everyone talks about how sad it is and they lost a baby. Yet when those same celebrities get an abortion, that wasn't a baby in the first place. It was just a mass of cells. I'm not trying to cast shade on anybody or be a piece of shit to any woman out there that's had an abortion. But at the same time, come on, people. Are we just going to pretend that what these motherfuckers are doing is not immoral? Whether or not you want to pretend it's necessary, it is immoral. It is 100% immoral. You can't change it. You can't change it because killing people is wrong, period. Even if it's necessary, it's still not good. Because when we as a society start embracing ideas like that as being good, oh, wow. We've seen where that's going, where we have guys like that. You remember Dr. Kermit Gosnell, Scott? I remember covering that when the news came out. Dr. Kermit, the guy with the baby parts and like fucking milk cartons and all that shit at the Planned Parenthood.
Is he the one that talked about people having abortions and then the baby could be kept alive and sold as body parts?
Yes. You're talking to the guy that literally had babies cut up in milk cartons. And he's the dude that at one point came up with stuff in it was like he's in medical school and it was involved in some company doing birth control shit and created a thing of razor blades attached to a rubber band that you would put like a golf ball inside a lady and then it expanded and it killed a bunch of people. And imagine that, fucked them up and whatnot. Yeah, those are the sort of guys that are the experts people trust in all these fields of health experts. Trust these guys. And that's what the sort of people we get in society when we say, well, I mean, abortion's good. I mean, whatever, anything that you can say is necessary, but is considered evil when it gets considered good by people will always be bad. Doesn't matter what it is, man. If it's killing, if we say, well, I mean, come on, killing is sometimes good, then we end up with the largest military state in the entire fucking world that has conquered almost every goddamn thing. I mean, I'm sure you don't, but your people do have a bit of an experience with that, Scott. I'm sure of patriotism being twisted into the world's largest military empire. So people, man,
Yeah,
people.
Again, that was the elite, Seth. It wasn't your
no. But they sold it to people with that in the same way that the average American isn't responsible for the fucking troops over in Iraq defending goddamn poppy fields and shit. It doesn't make it any less of a thing. That's how they sell it to all of us. And just, come on, man, stiff up a lip there, chap. I mean, they do the same shit here. Freedom isn't free and all that fucking bullshit catchphrases, stay home, stay safe. It's exactly it, man. It's just catchphrases that feel like they were completely and totally contrived by somebody in a PR marketing firm or advertising for how we can come up with terms that make it hurt the least. And you just, what nice people.
Seth, we're going to probably wind things down now. So
Okay.
As most shows try to finish on a positive note, I'm going to finish somewhere in the middle where I'm going to say, I'm going to say, if you believe the Q guys, you should feel very positive because apparently this is all to wake people up. And another thing they've said, which I find kind of ludicrous. If they're right, then I'm very happy. I hope they're right. But they reckon with the financial reset, have you heard this one? I like it. It's great. I hope it's true.
Oh, to wipe out all of our debt and it'll just be all good.
They're going to wipe out all the debt. Trump's going to wipe out all the debt, and basically all the elites have been trading on us on the stock market. You and me and everybody, and they've been making bets. I mean, some of this may be true. I don't know, but they've been making bets on people like will he live, will he die, and betting on people's lives and things like that, because we're all floated on the stock market, and all this. Basically, Trump is going to take all this money. They've made millions out of us individually, and they're going to give it to us. So they're going to give it to us in installments. You're not going to get dumped with £1 million, but all your debt's going to be wiped out, and you're going to be given hundreds of thousands in the Great Reset.
That certainly sounds like, even if it were true, that's communism, brah.
I don't care. I'll take that money, Seth.
Well, that's the thing, Scott, is the devil's going to sell you literally the fucking chains that you're going to put on yourself. He's going to sell you your own shackles. And you're going to be like, thanks, man. It's going to fucking get rid of this problem of all this fucking freedom that I had. It was so dangerous. I just hate it.
You give me 200 grand. That'll help me build my log
Scott,
cabin out in the countryside.
When that 200 grand is worth the equivalency of what $20,000 or fucking 30 quid is right now, then I don't know, man. I don't know.
If I run to the shops really quickly before it gets devalued.
That's the thing that nobody seems to understand, regardless of whether or not it's like money, or whether or not we're talking economics in terms of goods. Because it's the same thing with these morons with the fucking space shit of them going with, we're going to mine resources off of all these meteors and all this stuff, or the moon. I'm like, do you not realize that if they actually all that was real and they actually did that, A, it's not cost effective at all in any means and it's fucking ridiculous. But B, it would completely flood any given market to the point that it would destroy it, right? In terms of like flooding stuff.
I'm trying to be positive here.
Okay, but in positivity, this is my positive note for our end here. Purdue Pharma indicted on what was it, like lying charges of defrauding the federal government, lying, all this stuff. Charged, I think it was $8.3 billion. It's not nearly enough in a lot of people's opinion. However, even as rich as these guys are, and granted, it's a criminal case right now. It remains to be seen whether or not any individual members of the God damn it, I can't remember the name of the family, but whether or not the family or the company and any of the shareholders and whatnot are going to go to prison over this. However, they are definitely going to feel the $8.3 billion lawsuit, and it's specifically over OxyContin and everything. Because, it's not addictive. There's no, it's just made from opium. There's no way it could be addictive. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's good news. That's good news. Those people are
good news,
they're getting fined. That's good things are happening. Hey, if you're one of the Q guys and you're like, hey, told you it was all part of the plan in the first place, bud.
The only way I'm hoping the Q guys are right is that throughout this whole COVID thing, it's going to become so ridiculous, and it's going to be seen that this conspiracy is true. Even the Telegraph, you saw that article where she wrote, I'm starting to think this could be true, the conspiracy, that this is all just a giant agenda. There could be the positivity that comes out of that people start seeing some of these crazy conspiracies are actually true. They make more sense than the reality they thought they lived in. And if some of these famous celebrities like Tom Hanks and that are found to be pedophiles, and there is this huge pedophile network exposed, and the Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell is currently talking, but not talking. I mean, I listened to her the other day.
Have like a deposition going on right now.
I listened to it the other day. She's not giving away much info. She's not talking. Really.
Are you surprised? I mean, they would have to have evidence on her and pin her to the fucking wall with everything they possibly could to get her to squeal, considering we're talking the sort of person that, like, if she squeals on most of the people that we're supposed to believe she's going to, they'd fucking kill her. In fact, that she wouldn't even be there right now. She'd probably be found floating in the fucking ocean somewhere, like tied to the end of a cinder block.
I suspect they're not going to do anything with her. Like they're going to pretend that she's been sent to prison, but she'll probably. I do think there is a bit of a network out there, and she'll probably get. She might even go and live wherever Epstein's living at the moment.
Yeah, dude, that's still my thing with this. And a lot of people can think I'm crazy all they want with that one. Is I really don't think that he killed himself, and I really don't think that he got murdered, because we're talking about a guy whose entire fucking wealth came from blackmailing people. You have dead drops, man, and none of the people that you would be blackmailing would be unaware of the fact that you have dead drops, because you would not want to just get randomly assassinated by some random dickweed that just thinks, well, I'll just kill him, then he can't release any of the information on me. I'm like, do you really think that somebody gets to be a multimillionaire, billionaire even from blackmail, and is that naive? I don't buy that one, man. I don't buy that one.
I think it's 50-50. I think it's, somewhere around 50-50. I think. Yeah,
he definitely didn't kill himself. We can agree on that one. He definitely did not kill himself.
Agree on that. He didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
Either, he would have had something in place so that he's like, hey guys, if ever you kill me, this is coming out and it'll be automatic. There'll be nothing you can do. Or
well, yeah, because otherwise, why wouldn't somebody, the first person that he tries to blackmail, just go, well, then I'll just have my Vatican assassin come take care of you, bud. Like, the fuck?
I tend to think he didn't kill himself. He's alive. But
anyways, we can wrap it up for the night there, Scott. I know. What time is it for you? because it's morning
That's
time
okay.
for me here. It's like 10:40.
I'm not tired actually at the moment. I mean,
Okay,
it's
okay.
actually 1:45 here in Thailand, but
Ooh.
I tend to go to sleep about 3 a.m. So it's
So you're a night hawk. Good.
yeah, I'm
good.
a night hawk. No, I was going to say that it would be. I really do hope that the Q people are right about one thing. I do, because I do think, like I said, I've got nothing against the Qdrops. I think they're quite interesting, and I check them from time to time because you'll find more up to date information on there than you will on the BBC. You really will. You'll find all the Hunter Biden stuff on there. You'll see nothing on BBC. So it's not bad as a resource. Kieran's just written about Idiocracy. Have you seen that film?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
It's really, there's definitely something about Idiocracy that feels both prophetic, but then at the same time, like a self-fulfilling prophecy of that. It's just all you have to do to understand that it's going to be the future is have the lowest possible expectations for humanity. And unfortunately, it's kind of the George Orwell 1984 thing, which whereas, what is it? Brave New World is more like the Velvet Glove, where they use drugs and technology and all this stuff to just silly control people without having to actively have dudes in SWAT gear coming in and crushing your skull for disobeying. Whereas it feels like more like we're living in the 1984 world, but with a tinge of idiocracy, because both the people that are being both what you call the proles or the proletariat, as well as the government class, the enforcer class and whatnot, the brutes, all these people have an IQ of below 90. That's the twist. That's the twist. It's like, it's a dystopian future where everything's run by the government. Everyone's like completely and totally beholden to giant mega corporations that are also in bed with the government. But here's the twist. 99.9% of the population has an IQ of room temperature. Yeah. And you're like, oh my god.
Voiceover work, Seth. That was very good.
Thanks.
I wanted to insult anyone who's listening who
That's never a good way to start.
Yeah, I'm going to actually insult anyone. But I probably don't have many people listening that are in this category. But anyone who's listening that mocks conspiracy theorists and thinks that this whole COVID-19 is exactly as they've been told by the government, and that the government cares about us, and they're very concerned of every single death they hear. You look at conspiracy theorists and you think they're stupid. They believe anything. There are some conspiracy theorists who are a bit stupid and believe anything, but most that I've met do far more research and have a reason to believe in their crazy nutball conspiracy. Most conspiracies, or some of the more well-known ones, they have an element of truth, or some of them are 100% true, because they don't want you to understand the truth. And so if you do believe in this whole COVID-19 thing, you are officially stupid. That's what I wanted to say.
Here.
You're a dumb. I'm trying not to swear, but
yeah, I get you.
You are 100%
a foolish sissy nanny, if you will. There.
You are the stupid one. You've gone around your entire life watching the BBC, watching CNN, and you pretend that you're kind of rational thinking, but you, at the end of the day, you believe everything they tell you, or 99% of it. And if your friend says, "Oh no, this virus thing, it's just an agenda to take over the world and take away our rights," well, look at what's happening to you. You're being told where you can go, who you can meet. That's more likely to be the truth. And if you actually believe the government version of it, you're now stupid. To finish on a positive note, I'm hoping that this will shake up people. That's the only positive that can come out of this, that so many things that get revealed, that everyone starts to see, oh my God, the conspiracy theorists are right about the pedophile network, about the COVID-19 hoax. That's what I'm hoping, Seth. How about you?
Indeed. I think most people are going to buy whatever narrative that they're fed, and whatever narrative makes it seem easiest for people. And I think the most important thing is to question everything, especially that which you literally believe just can't possibly be wrong and whatnot. I think that type of stuff is more important for our own self accountability than it is for anything of people around the rest of the world and stuff, like, because everybody's worried about saving the fucking world. In reality, dude, you need to worry about the guy in the mirror. I have a song I'm writing for the upcoming album and all this called Garden and whatnot. It's all about, you know, tending to your own garden first and everything, because the rest of the world can be changed. The rest of the world can be affected and all this stuff by you. You have the power to do all this. However, if you have not addressed anything going on in your own life and the things that keep you stuck in the same old fucking circle, then you're never going to change the goddamn world. And in actuality, you are one of the least qualified people to be changing the world. But in positive news, I will say, as you said earlier, living in a place that is really pretty, that is really nice. I also live here in Washington State in a place that is really pretty, really nice. And no matter what, even at the height of all the insanity, one can still either go outside or just look out one's window, see some birds, see, like, maybe there'll be rain clouds, maybe it'll be snow, maybe it'll be cold and shitty where you're at, maybe it's not, maybe it's nice and beautiful. But regardless, everything's fucking fine as far as the general world. Everybody says the world needs to be saved. The world doesn't need to be saved, man. It's just us. It's just us.
I like that, Seth. We're starting to get finished on a positive note. Let's try and stay there.
Yep.
Although Kieran from the chat said you just insulted my entire family.
I was waiting for that one, Scott. I
know Kieran has been struggling with his family because they believe the story. Okay, what I would say to anyone who's listening who is a stupid, bad word,
bugger,
a stupid bugger who does believe this, get your hand, make it nice and tense, and then slap yourself hard round the face. There's still hope for you. If you slap yourself hard and admit that this is all a big con, you're being conned, then we forgive you.
Is that the latest treatment for Corona? Is that the latest treatment? Because if the World Health Organization said so, then I am 100%. I'll get behind it, Scott.
Yeah, good. And on a peaceful note, I like the way you were talking there. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to the beach, have breakfast on the beach, have a nice coffee. On a positive note, you can let all this drift away and ignore it all, and it will disappear from your mind. And it's almost a form of delusion. That's when delusion is a good thing. Big Rob in the chat has written that delusion is strong with this one. I think sometimes you have to delude yourself a bit and just get rid of everything. Pretend the world's fantastic and that we're not all going to be put in concentration camps.
Not even necessarily to like that level, but just to relax. Because there are times when if you stay in this fear cycle for so long, and even just being stressed is that same level of that fear cycle. If you stay stressed all the time, you're making your body weaker. You're making your mind weaker. You're making your spirit weaker. You're making everything about you becomes less effective. If you want to think about it as in manly terms of like militarism type shit, you become a less effective tool, a less effective weapon. Your ability, your brain, your mind, your strongest weapon against the powers that be becomes less effective. And that doesn't benefit anybody, man. So even if it's only a few hours a day, even if just a single hour, when you turn off the goddamn computer, turn off your cell phone, turn off all this stuff, and either just sit quietly, listen to some music, do whatever it is that your particular thing is. Sit, smoke a bowl, drink a cup of coffee, sip some tea, goddamn, smoke a cigarette, just sit and meditate, do whatever it is you do, and just let it go, man. Just breathe deep and let it go. Because a lot of this shit is the same problems that are here now are still going to be here tomorrow. And every other day they're in. We can try and find solutions for them, and we can move forward with all this bullshit. But at beyond all of it, we're all on this journey alone, individually. And you got to take care of your body, which is your temple and shit. And you need to not be tired constantly and worn out and emotionally in a fucking fist of existential crises all the time. There's just something psychologically really important about letting go. But anyways, before I start to droll on and ramble on here and whatnot, thank you for having me, Scott. It was really awesome to get to talk to you about this stuff. Hopefully the next time we talk, it'll be better news. And it would be wonderful, especially now that we know that this program, StreamYard, actually works out. We can have Phil on or anybody else that we can get a guest on or something like that and actually have a roundtable debate or something like that. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, no, it's been great talking to you, Seth. And yeah, I think we can do these more regularly now. I'm starting to get more positive about doing this show. And I wanted to finish by agreeing with you about health and fitness. Train hard, get yourself healthy and fit and strong so that when they come to drag you out of your house, you can fight them off. That's the main thing. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you again. Thanks, Seth. Thanks for coming. Bye, everyone. Seth, you can hang around.
Peace.
I'm just going to end the broadcast here. Bye, everyone. Thanks a lot. Remember to share the episode as well, everyone. Thank you. Try and share it with all your friends. We want to try and build up the listener base.
Absolutely.
But we do appreciate you. Thank you.